meeting is being recorded. It's part of public record. No cause for public hearing. No hold items of discussion that I can think of.
Turn my phone on.
Well, I guess technically the election, but.
Sure. Go ahead.
So, Lisa, you can reach over and tap me if I speak out of turn or whatever. So Lisa and I met for a while to discuss the situation with the new machines and where the placement of them and everything. And basically we came to the conclusion that Lisa would stay in her current location, that all of the actual tablets would be in where they currently are in the vault, and that basically one of two alternate locations would be made for the printers and the battery backups. And basically one of those two locations is either going to be the warehouse or DHS.
And we can also put the privacy screens with those and the ballot boxes. So those aren't things that I use all the time. We just, I have to be able to go there and prepare things, you know.
Yeah, and both spaces would be secure, it would be securely locked, and so no access from the public or anybody, any of the other staff. And we feel, basically the warehouse is probably going to be the place, but I think that we feel like that there's appropriate space at DHS that could be utilized for it.
Great.
Is everybody okay with that?
Absolutely.
Taking your
Oh.
recommendation.
The second thing that I wanted to talk to you about, I'm sorry I didn't, when I sent everybody saying that we were gonna, or that I wanted to talk about this, there's an item that I forgot. Okay, so I wanted to get your perspective on the concept of having some cards made for we could do it in the primary maybe because it's a smaller election than the general. Have some cards made that the poll workers can hand to the people coming through the polling booths. They can fill them out after they voted and then put them into spare boxes to do a survey of the election for them, like how they felt about the machines, how they felt about the process, what their weight was like, you know, or any other kind of as a kind of a post-election, you know, follow, you know, and give the public, because they're there anyway, the opportunity to put feedback in. And I want to know what you thought about that, good or bad. And we don't have to do it this election. I just thought that considering, you know, there's going to be more machines, you know, it's kind of a second go around, you know.
Are you talking about kind of pursuing people, begging them to fill this out, or are you saying put a little kiosk at the end of the door that says, if you want to fill out a survey?
Well,
here it is.
the way I was looking at it is when everybody comes in to sign in, the poll worker would just hand them a card. We have a stack of cards and say, if you care to, you can fill out a survey about your experience with the election. And all of the questions just have to do with how the election is carried out. And so they can take it or not take it. And then if they take it, they'll have, you know, we'll put like a table on the side or something that they can fill it out and then put it in a box on the side, you know.
The purpose of this is in order to provide people that want to give feedback an opportunity.
Yes.
Okay, what kind of questions?
So it'd be like, you know, rate your satisfaction with the new machines 1 to 10, you know, overall. Rate your the time that it took for you to get to a machine and fill it out and complete your vote, you know, 1 to 10, you know, and then, you know, and like have comments and stuff like that. So
Okay.
those kinds of things that would be relevant to, you know, if we, because it's one of these things that it's hard to gauge what the public's view literally is of the voting machines, because, you know, most of the people that had a fine experience, they're not going to go out of their way to tell everybody that, and you know, and so we want to kind of gauge that. If we end up getting a lot of feedback that's just really, really bad, then I think that's something that we have to take a look at.
Do we have choices when it comes to those voting machines?
Yeah.
Of the process, and would that be the facilitator of that then? in the event that you did get a significant negative response?
Well,
Choices in like different machines
Mhm.
or?
I mean, is that what we're trying to,
so,
to,
yeah, so as a for instance, like in Pine Grove, they've traditionally had 4 machines. They had 2 machines during the prior race. There might be a case for that precinct to have 5 machines, you know, it's hard to say. So if we put the 4 machines in, because the machines are different, and so the time frame's gonna be a little bit different, and this is something that I think that we could do on an ongoing basis, you know, periodically, you have these surveys to get like satisfaction, you know, kind of information from the public. So, you know, and I'm not saying that we do it in all precincts either. We could pick like a handful of the precincts that maybe had the most problems the last time around. Yeah.
Like Pine Grove.
Yeah. Like in, you know, have one set up like on Warren North, have one set up in Pine Grove, have one in Pleasant, you know, have, you know, maybe some of the larger precincts, and then just print, you know, a couple thousand cards that are like this big, you know, and then I'm not suggesting that there be like a ton of questions, like it'd be, you know, 2 or 3 questions with metrics on it, and we can send the questions around everybody until everybody's comfortable with them, you know, I mean, I'm just saying like as a matter of, you know, with these situations where we're interacting with the public and we have an opportunity for them to be present and provide feedback easily, so that it isn't a sample that's maybe, you know, when you do like online surveys, most of the time it's just people that are online and stuff like that. In this case, it's people that are actually using the equipment. And my point, I guess my other view of it is that this gives them an opportunity to have a voice in the process. So if they have a recommendation, you know, they can write it on a couple of lines on a card and turn it in, you know. And the thing is too, is if we give the cards to just people who have voted, we know that the people are voting, that they're engaged in the process as well. So I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there as an idea. You know, I mean, does that seem like
I'm not opposed to it.
no, that's fine.
Okay.
I usually try to, if there's something to solve for, you want to get that feedback, and it sounds like wait times are the biggest issue. So with more machines, then we can understand if there's better satisfaction with wait times.
That's kind of what I
Got out of the last election.
Right.
Is
Yeah, because like,
really
places like
issue?
Bear Lake, they can do with 1 machine.
Right.
But like Pine Grove, I mean, we took them from 4 to 2, and it was a mess up there, you know.
So, like as an example, wait times is one item. Ease of use is another one. So, and to me, some part of that is like how we educate the public on how to utilize the machines. So the way I kind of look at this is we have an election and we get that feedback and we set a baseline like for quality. Like, so if you do a 1 to 10 on how easy is it to use the machine, and we find that there are a lot of people have a really hard time using the machine, and there's a learning curve there that we need to navigate. And so then the goal will be to figure out ways to educate the public on how those machines are utilized and hopefully get those scores to go up as you do more surveys. So I look at it kind of like a marketing research kind of a thing. I don't know that a lot of people are doing this because my assumption is most government agencies are just like, these are the machines you get, deal with, you know. And
Well, that was my question, is there something that, you know, we're trying to solve for? One is wait time, what we perceived was bad, and then do we have choices for different types of machines?
yeah, so hypothetically.
Is that a yes?
No.
That's no, okay.
Well,
Unless we run the full on other system, which would be very
Yeah.
expensive.
Okay,
yeah.
all right, that's my point.
Yeah, we've kind of, like with, and the big thing is now is, I'm sorry, it's in the middle before I came out here, and it's like making me cough. But anyway, like, you know, with the election machines we have, there's already been an investment, like on our part, and some portion of that is the funding that we're gonna get for the state, so they're not gonna double give it even if we switch machines. So the machine issue is less, I think, about switching machines, you know. I mean, hypothetically, there's probably a case that we could switch to a more paper-based system, but we're not planning on doing that. But that could be a decision that could be precipitated by a lot of really persistent bad feedback, you know. The goal is gonna be to get those numbers up, you know, and cause that, like as for instance, in this last election, we had the complaint of, and I'm not saying that it's justified, that there wasn't enough notice given, or people didn't know enough about the machines and stuff like that. The feedback might say that, okay, we do need to really do some more education on, you know, because some people had issues with like the error messages or understanding that and those types of things. Those might be things that we might have, you know, informational, or that we might be able to change at the interface. So we can work with the minion to like kind of remove those error messages if they became too burdensome, that kind of stuff.
And two, with this new Act 77 stuff, anybody can request a mail-in ballot. It's not going to be considered an absentee, and I have to keep my absentee separate from my mail-in. So instead of buying on the envelope, which I don't need new envelopes, I would like to have permission to buy stamps, you know, just as absentee mail-in, because I do have to keep them separate. And I've already had one person call me from Pine Grove wanting a ballot, and he is disabled. He just couldn't get close to the polls to vote, so I already sent him an application. So I think this, you know, mail-in ballot and absentee ballot, I think you're gonna see an increase in that, just especially with the elderly. I mean, because a lot of them just don't want to go out in the weather, you know,
And for us, to some degree, the more people that do that, it technically is better because it reduces the wait times of the polling locations.
right, exactly. You know, and I think that should be something that the county should market, saying, you know, if you, because there's no excuse. If you want a ballot because you don't want to go to the polls on election day, you come to me and you get a ballot and you vote, you're good to go. And, you know, with the absentee ballot deadline's changing, they can bring in their absentee ballot right up until 8 o'clock on election night. So
as
there's a
far,
lot of
Sounds good.
changes
I'm
coming down the
supportive.
line.
okay, so as far as the card thing, maybe what we'll do is we'll put something together and then send it to everybody. And then if you're comfortable with it, then we'll get like a quote on what it would be to print, you know, a few thousand of them.
That's good.
What was the other thing you wanted to talk about? While you're looking that up, I think it's time for setting the date for the state of the county. I'm looking at converting either the February 17th or the 24th work session to it. Either of you have a preference on that?
You said February
17th or 24th, so 3 or 4 weeks out from now.
February 17th,
Yeah.
some residents.
Yeah, we don't-
It's a holiday.
We're
Oh,
all
oh. Maybe I should look at the government calendar, not my personal one.
the
13th or 27th.
All right, so
24th would work. February 24th.
that's last year's, isn't it?
Yes.
We've really got our act together. So is this,
Let's try the 24th, that's a Monday,
Just take this.
and not a holiday. So that'll be the state of the county.
yeah. So my intent, as usual, would be to write it up and then at least share, at least the minimum of the, maybe not the word for word, at least the bullet point outline of what I want to say, so that you can either comment in the meeting, or if you feel that there's something missing that you want me to address, then I would be able to do that. For the most part, I'll cover things such as metrics from the last year, whether that be population changes, economic factors, and then specifically county things such as how we did in the budget, what's the final numbers are pretty close to in, stuff like that, and significant changes in the budget, initiatives that we accomplished, initiatives that we're going to be undertaking this year, kind of timeline for the year, that sort of thing.
You want reports from the department head
I
like
will-
you had last time?
I will indeed.
Do you want to do that in an evening meeting to see if we can get,
Well, that's an idea. Yeah, what if I did it on the 19th? Is that the,
no.
no, 26th?
Last year you did it during the, did we do it during the session, or didn't we do it
No,
before
we did it
commissioners
in
meeting?
the commissioners meeting.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It is in the evening, then we would have more, well, potentially could have more participation from the public.
Yes, so that would be the 26th then.
Yes.
Alright, I like that, that sounds good. So anyway, then you'll have an opportunity to either respond beforehand or during if you wanted to, you know, give your counter state of the county speech.
I'm sure. Hopefully I'll be conscious at that point.
Is that normally a problem after 5 PM or?
For me it is, anymore. These kids, jeez.
Okay, well, that'll be settled then, so I'll just do that. We can go through our normal business, get it done quickly, and then move on to the city county. Sounds good. Alright, your other topic.
The other topic is the RDA. This morning we had a lengthy RDA meeting. Put Mr. Cotton's typing skills to the test. I think he quit. By the time I got there, I think he pretty much quit. But anyway, they're kind of grappling with some issues of, you know, obviously they've never had a whole lot of funding, and a lot of the stuff that they do requires a lot of small legal work, but it's still expensive, like in the current state. Andrew Stapleford is a wonderful attorney. She does an amazing job for the RDA, but they were kind of working a piecemeal fashion. So every time they do something, they contact her, incur legal fees, and what I'd like to do, or like to ask or request, is that we kind of set up a situation where Pam and Lori Dunlop and Danny Glotz can collaborate with Nathaniel Schmidt, the county solicitor, to handle a lot of the routine legal work for the RDA so that they do not incur costs related to the transfer of deeds, you know, putting liens on properties, you know, many of the things that they do on a routine basis. It can, you know, it costs, you know.
This can come out of the 5,000 that we.
Well, no, that so that was part of the discussion. So we have the 5,000, and what happens is you know, the goal is to use that for title searches and different kinds of stuff that were like operational. When you put the legal costs into it, which that was part of the plan, you know, to put a lien on a property can be $1,000 or $1,500. So all it takes is 2 of those or 3, and that fund is kind of wiped out. Whereas what we'd like to do is have a boilerplate lien that is developed, you know, where Pam and Lori work together on and take, you know, because there's several liens that we put on over the years, take that language and rework it, and then basically send it to Schmidt to have him just give an okay to it, and then use that over and over again rather than having them, you know, vote to, okay, now we're going to go talk to Andrea, then Andrea's going to go through the whole rigmarole, putting the thing together, and then, because that's more piecemeal. Whereas what we're trying to do, I think, would cost maybe a few $100s, you know, over the course of a month or two, you know, to put something together that can be reutilized. And really, Schmidt would then just be an advisor to the RDA. My assumption is that Andrew Stapleford would still function with the RDA for stuff such as, you know, like if they do a conservatorship, you know, or something that requires more teeth from an attorney. You know, so basically what would happen is Schmidt would just continue to charge the county, but his time would be utilized on some small part on RDA business.
And then it wouldn't be repeated over again. Once we
No.
have that boilerplate,
Yeah.
boilerplate agreements or
Yeah.
forms, then we can just utilize them over and over.
Yeah, and Lori Dunlop had talked this morning about how in previous years and previous administrations, that's kind of how it functioned, was that she would write the lien or take, you know, the language and then send it to the solicitor of the county at that time. And this was years ago, so my assumption is that shouldn't be an issue. But because kind of my point is what, and Pam can I'm assuming back me up on this, is what happens is the board, the RDA board then gets in a discussion about whether to contact the solicitor just to do a lien on the property, and then immediately there's a price tag attached to it, and then everybody like holds off, or can we do anything else when, if Pam and Lori work together, got, you know, because the liens, we do the same thing, you know, and you, having worked on an RDA, know how everything's like a policy-based thing, and so this would make it a lot easier for them to just kind of move that kind of stuff forward.
That's a good idea.
Okay, are you okay?
I'm fine with it, I just want to make sure that it's coded somehow. At the end of the year, we know literally how much was spent on behalf of the RDA.
So I just, okay,
And in the new accounting system, that will be hard.
okay. So we work with Eric and Nathaniel just to make sure that his bills are,
They're already coded.
well, I know that he puts items in it and everything, I just mean so that we purposefully parse it out.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Solving problems today. After another meeting.
So the next thing I wanted to bring up was more just an FYI. I'm meeting with Bob Snyder on Thursday, and the reason is to talk about potentially hiring us to do some of the Forest County EMA work. The reason that it's kind of urgent is because, as you know, we had an admin assistant position over at EMA last year. It was half covered by federal EMPG money. And if we don't refill that position in the next couple of weeks, then the funding would go away. Obviously, I'm not advocating that we reopen the position just so that we can keep a grant that pays for half of it. However, if Forest County wanted to kick in for half of it, and Warren County would kick in half that would be then reimbursed by the feds, then essentially it would be free to us, and that makes more sense to me. So, very much exploratory at this point. Obviously, it would go through salary board. I'm just letting you know that I'm going to go meet with Bob and see if that is in fact something that they want to pursue.
Can you talk to them about jail reimbursement?
So next topic. It's always an explosive one.
Oh, you missed a really good conversation. Was I the only one there? Yeah, at the Northwest County Commissioners Association, because apparently, like Lawrence County, their jail population has bottomed out. They have like 130 people, 140. They have 90,000 people in the county, like, and they're like, we got space, and Basil's like, well, what's the going price? And like, we're paying $60, and somebody from Lawrence says $59.99. So, I'm like, what? Basil, I think you got a little bit farther to drive there. But it was just kind of fun.
So did they say why?
Well, I mean, it was a combination of things. One element was I think the criminal justice system was kind of working collectively to kind of parse some of the people out in order to get them on different tracks. Another part of it was that they've been averaging 1 to 2 opioid-related deaths a week for like 2 or 3 years. So when you start adding those numbers up over the course of a couple of years, I mean, you get a good chunk of their jail population has died from overdoses. So.
Well, I guess that's
No, I mean, just died over. I mean, like, you know, 80%, you know, 80 or 90% of our folks have some kind of alcohol or drug issue. So, like, hypothetically, if we took on those numbers, our jail population would be down to 50, you know, I mean,
Right.
so.
Our average age would be
Yeah.
a lot.
We'd have to buy some beard trimmers, I think. Yeah.
All right, well, I was going to ask what can we do to be like them, but never mind.
No, I think that
There might be something.
there's definitely some stuff to talk to Lawrence County about, because they're, like I said, their county population is double ours, and their jail population is the same or less, and definitely the opioid thing's part of it, but a huge chunk of it is they were talking about how kind of the courts, the DA, and the commissioners are all kind of working together and coming up with solutions to channel folks. They have a very active drug court and some other things, and they've gotten people, I think,
It's a very similar story in Center County, and
Yeah.
at least a couple others, they're
Yeah.
twice the size of us with half, or the
Yeah.
same amount of inmates.
Yeah, because it was funny because it was, Vogler was pitching the whole thing of using the jail, and all the commissioners are like, we don't care about renting space in your jail, how did you get your jail population down?
Yeah.
You know, that was the first thing, and he's like, well, wait, I don't want to talk about that, I want to talk about you renting space for me. So, I don't know.
I don't perceive their socioeconomic status being better than Warren County.
They're in real rough shape. And when we went down with the RDA to Lawrence County, I mean, their repository list for tax sale was 700 properties. 700. Ours is what, 90, 80?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when they said that, we like fell out of, like because we would go down there to talk about their land bank and everything, which is great. But when we found out that they had 700 properties, like you can throw a dart and find a property to redevelop down there. I mean, it was, you know.
And I grew up in that county, so I'm fairly familiar with it.
Yeah. They're doing some amazing stuff with it, but they're definitely, I mean, the bulk of their, I mean, you know this, because the bulk of their population is concentrated in Newcastle, and then that's where 9/10 of the problem is and everything. They're far more concentrated than we are, even in the city of Warren, so, but anyway.
All right, on to project updates. The list is still there on the board. For me, interesting development, I thought that the courts have their own employee handbook, but it turns out that the courts are actually interested in collaborating with us to create a unified handbook. So I'll be working with Linda Cartzer to see if we can effectuate that. And of all stuff, we have another board meeting coming up, so no one updated yet. And then EMS task force, I've had a couple meetings, but nothing really to report. Anything from you two?
All fixed. They're all fixed. Hopefully, they're just very slow.
It's just
So that's the problem, because I still don't have Robin.
What's that? Well, I'm gonna get to broadband after. Yeah, so, okay, so, on recycling, I went out and had a lengthy meeting with John Mortensen at his property, getting a bunch of information from him. We're gonna be going out and meeting with several vendors in upstate New York and some other places to talk about electronics recycling and some other things. That's just starting to really move forward. On the tax abatement front, I basically am in the process of getting a follow-up meeting with the school board to kind of, continue to feed them information and move that forward. Marketing and redevelopment task forces, I've met with Jim Decker about the marketing front, and he's basically putting together some proposals that are related to the task force report that'll kind of tie in some of the elements that we've kind of had conversations with over the past 6 months. And then I'm meeting with Nancy Freedom from the city to kind of talk about both of those items and how we can further collaborate with the city on both the redevelopment task force and the marketing task force. And then the baseball thing, basically I need to get, I need to have a conversation with Attorney Schmidt just to get the updates that we had originally planned in the lease so that I can then forward it to them and then continue that conversation. On the broadband front, I'm having conversations with Lisa Schaefer at CCAP because they're basically, that's like the second, or I can't say like the second item. And basically they're trying to make a push with the state legislature in order to move like some legislation forward on the broadband initiative. And really what I'd like to do is use Warren County as one spot to kind of use as a pilot as far as like showing them the challenges that we're having. And And then also, as a result, this is a good time to discuss this. We want to, did we get the meeting with the guy from Info Cable? Tom. I was going to call him
That's right,
Applesauce.
yeah.
Anyway,
Smosh.
so that's what-
Did we put something on our calendar for that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
it's
so,
set up.
so anyway, we're gonna meet with him. I'd like to try to get meetings with some of the other providers in the area in order to start conversations with them about kind of where they're at and what they could do and what we could do. I want to bring in a couple of consultants just to meet with us and to have like a consultation because like for the Tri-County cooperative that was done in Potter, I think it's Potter, McKean, and Cameron, something like that. Or maybe it was Potter, Tioga, and Cameron. I can't remember. I think it's definitely Potter and Tioga, and then because there's a big focal point in I can't remember what town. What's a big town in Potter? The
Needs
one.
some coffee.
I haven't eaten breakfast or lunch yet. Anyway, those folks were at the CCAP conference this past fall that we all attended. Had a really great presentation on how they set up their cooperative and then all the different elements of the things that they used in order to kind of expand broadband. So there's like parts of it are putting stuff on the radio towers that the county already has access to, that kind of stuff. Part of it has working with the local providers in order to pull down funding, in order to put down fiber in areas that it's capable of. But a big part of it is helping put together the strategic plan to do all of that, which involves like doing a heat map of, or mapping out what the current broadband penetration is, like literally, and stuff related to that, and they can help with that. But anyway, so those are the things as far as broadband goes. So are you guys comfortable with just at least having meetings with those folks? And
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about ready though, I think, to put it into a task,
okay,
the same players that you're talking about in a task force.
okay.
Are you?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, no, the way I look at it is anything we would do this year would be, in anticipation of like next year or the year after. So
Yeah, right.
like all the plan.
No grant that we can go
Yeah.
after is gonna happen in
Yeah.
2019,
No.
so.
Well, and I think to be effective, we're gonna have to really do a lot of good planning to get, because basically the way they were talking about is like all that, like you have the grants, you have private funding, you have all these different sources and the money's there, but you basically have to show them that you have your stuff together. And if you can do that with detail, then definitely we should be able to make a push, like a good push,
Who's the they?
Do you mean the
You said we'll have to show them.
Oh, so like the federal government, state government, private funders, the folks that were at the meeting had a lot of information on, these different private funding sources where people buy in, the good thing about, getting everybody together, especially if you have good coalition and support from the municipalities, is those are reliable funding sources, so people are willing to invest, if there's the support there, so that they don't, the thing isn't gonna go bankrupt or whatever the situation is. There's a lot of layers to that, but the way I'm looking at it, like with Warren County, is we have several patches that have absolutely no coverage at all. And so I think that we could very easily do a great deal just by putting something there. And, like in a lot of those areas, we already have radio towers or there's other kind of resources that are there. We just have to figure out a way to tap into them.
Yeah.
So,
Great, good. Project updates?
well, fortunately, it's winter, so we don't have to worry about black fly right now.
We should start planning for that.
One of the upsides. And that's it, I think.
I'm learning a lot about the finance side of things at the county.
There you
It's been
go.
quite interesting. Eric and I have been working together on that and talking a little bit about course, with the whole new system that came into play, you know, we need to kind of gear ourselves up and reporting budget versus actuals and expectations and projections and so I'm kind of working through that with him. And the financial report that we get on a regular basis, I don't know how reflective that is the financial position of the county. Not wanting to be critical, but and not a blame to Eric or his team at all.
No, it's the
None
system.
whatsoever.
There was no way to do a
So-
reconciliation before to get hold of
Right.
a real one.
So we had a conversation about that today, and we're still moving forward on that front, so.
That's great.
Excellent.
So,
Plus, remember, in the past, there's no funds in AccuFund, so.
Shudder at that.
yeah, start convulsing. Well, it's very important, I mean, yeah, you wanna be financially fit, that's for sure. And if you don't, you can't see it, how do you know whether you are?
You can see more today than you've ever been.
I'm hearing that, that's wonderful.
One of the big things that I'm hoping that we can accomplish, even with the transition, is to make sure that somehow we incorporate all of the historic data that we do have into the system. It's kind of difficult because, you know, with the change, like this is the challenge with making changes to the budget structure this past time around, is it actually, to some degree, you start from zero on some level because all the numbers are different. But like on the line items, like for the departments and stuff, we can definitely get the old, you know, have that old data and somehow, I don't know how we incorporate it or whether we just keep AccuFund available to like reference, but I just want, like, I mean, I know that their whole goal right now is to just get it up and running so that everything is in there consistently from here on out.
And I think I've seen the first report from that system. You guys saw earlier today the first report from that system, so I think it'll be much beneficial in the future.
Yeah, the goal traditionally with the report that we get at the meeting is that the number is at 0 when you get it. Like as long as it's.
But it could be, and you don't know it, that's the problem.
That's exactly right.
Well, I mean, traditionally, it's always been a matter of like being in constant communication with the fiscal director to track how things are going, but.
Well, quite literally what we were doing was asking the treasurer's office what the balance is and asking the fiscal office what checks we
Yeah.
recently had outstanding, but who knows historically.
Yep.
Yeah.
There are, anyway.
Yes.
So, any other project updates?
Nothing, I really need to kind of get up to speed on retirement and healthcare. I'm assuming the healthcare has already been renewed for the year, and there's no negotiations going on there at this point in time, but the meeting with Kim will talk a little bit about that, and Eric.
Retirement, when is our next quarterly meeting? It's gonna be coming up.
February, I believe.
Okay. So yeah, but, yeah, the next few weeks, we're gonna have a meeting with CSBK, so.
Yeah, I mean, you can get, you should be able to get contact information for any of the vendors to have them send you stuff. The healthcare,
Look at the most recent retirement report. So.
yeah,
We had one in December.
Do you have a copy of that, Pam? Could I get that from you? Everything that was in my office seemed to be aged.
well,
A little older, I guess.
yeah, the healthcare one is the one that's a little bit harder to, the retirement seems to be pretty consistent generally speaking with how we deal with it. But the healthcare is always the real big fish. And this last change to when we moved vendors and started to go to the, PCHIP program and all of that made a big difference in kind of trying to smooth out this healthcare process.
Yeah, Eric and I talked a lot about that last week, so
That'll be great.
continue to move forward on those fronts.
Good. All right, on the meeting agenda for tomorrow, we have CDBG both as a hearing and then budget revision. that we hire a consultant, that CPA that can do a few adjustment, like gear adjustments. It should be covered by our EIP grant, at least 90% of it. So that's that agreement. And then certification of 2020 millage rates. That's it. Anything else that needs to go on the agenda?
Historically, has the audit firm themselves did all the adjustments, I'm assuming?
In years past, yes, but obviously that's not really kosher,
No.
so.
Okay. I don't know if I could
Area
err
of
on that,
recommendation.
but
Yeah.
yeah, because I think there may be some benefit in having some of that skill set in-house over time.
Yeah, I agree.
We can't always. There we go.
I'm just giggling because I'm happy.
Oh, if that's a sign of being happy, that's it.
All right, department committee updates.
The elections, I did move to one place.
No.
yeah.
Warren South was at the Seneca and Start Building, and they no longer want to stay there, they need their space and that. So Commissioner Everson and I talked, and I'm going to contact St. Joe's and see if we can put Warren South over there with Warren West. They just get the extra $100, so they get $200 per election. Kind of like we have for Holy Redeemer, you know, we have north, southeast, and east over there. So I have to work on that. I'm going to be calling St. Joe's today or tomorrow, see if I can talk to somebody and see if it's kosher. Now, Commissioner Anderson said the room is big enough to accommodate 2 precincts, and so.
Yeah, I think.
You live on the west side,
I
right?
do,
Yeah.
there's very little traffic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
And that room too, like the 2 machines are on the one side, there's plenty of room in
On the
there
other
for 2
side,
other machines.
And,
absolutely.
you know, with Warren South being across the river, I don't know that it's going to be a real big deal, but they're going to just come across the Veterans Bridge and come over, you know, St. Joe's. But it's a matter of, you know, notifying everybody, getting voter registration cards out to everybody, and blah, blah, blah. So I need to get on that sooner rather than later, so.
Because I don't know where else on the south side you would put it, to be honest.
I mean, unless we can get a room at the hospital, like a conference room at the hospital, but I'm not sure that the
That
hospital.
they're gonna want that
Yeah,
traffic.
they-
Well, plus you have to go really far into.
Yeah, and,
Frankly, parking for them would be even harder than
right,
just going to St.
exactly,
Joe's.
absolutely, and we know St. Joe's is ADA compliant, and
Yeah.
I think it's just the normal, logical place to move north and south, so I'll be working on that very soon here, so.
Well, and I don't think that anybody on the south side would be traveling farther than the people on the north side travel to go to Holy
Exactly,
Redeemer, so.
absolutely, and it's kind of a boat center kind of thing,
Yeah.
but just combine fully places,
It
basically,
makes sense.
so.
Sounds good.
Just a reminder, my office is closed tomorrow. We have a meeting in Pittsburgh.
I got my judicial sale scheduled, so the sheriff is currently serving the owners and lien holders, party interests and such. So while they're doing that, I'm scanning away documents.
You sound very excited about
So. Scanning?
it. No, just in general.
Yeah.
He's still thinking about the roundabout.
Down for a while, now it's back.
He's exhausted from this morning's RDA meeting.
That too.
That was American.
It was quite the robust meeting, I
How
heard.
long was it? It was an hour and 15 minutes. I mean, it was just, it wasn't the length of time, it was the, what would be the term, the breadth of the discussion, I guess. It was, yeah, let's put it this way. It was an hour and 15 minutes to talk about 6 properties, like so, and it was just, it was unbelievable. So, we got to it.
All right.
I mean, I was only there for 45 minutes of it.
Okay.
I saw it was scheduled for 8, and I'm like, that's Jeff at 8 a.m.
There you go.
All right, so schedule-wise, I think I told you already, came in district, so I won't be out here till 9.
Happy I won't be going to that. I thought it was my meeting, it's Fed's meeting.
Yours is scheduled over, Pensacole's scheduled over the governing board meeting.
And that's what we were talking about earlier, so we're gonna get myself a little bit of an orientation first,
Okay.
and then go from there.
And then the location always changes, and I think they meet quarterly, and it
Yes.
always changes, but the one in February is in Venango County.
So tomorrow I'll also only be in the afternoon through the evening. Thursday I've got a meeting in Forest County, then a meeting in Venango County, and then a meeting here, so I'm just gonna be going all day basically with my meetings. And Friday I'm in a all-day training session here, so won't be available, but I'll be here.
Next week, I'm gonna be getting the orientation at the Rouse, as well as they weigh in on the second HR administrator's interview.
Good.
Did you say Thursday or, I'm sorry?
Until I come back for you.
Oh,
That's probably your whole meeting. Yes. You're my last word. If I may.
I'll be in all day today, and then I'm in and out tomorrow at meetings. Thursday is the Lions Club turkey dinner, so that's
Oh, yeah.
gonna blow my whole day.
Did I owe you?
I didn't get, you didn't get tickets yet, but I have them here, so,
Okay.
and then, Friday, I'll be here pretty much all day, and then Saturday is the library midwinter fundraiser.
Oh, great.
So
It
I'm gonna
is.
be
Coming to that as well.
Yes.
working all through that, and then Sunday in the evening, at some point, I'm sleep again.
The turkey dinner's Thursday.
There's $10 tickets, delicious. Would buy now.
I'm gonna miss Lisa's stuffing though.
And then Saturday is, well, we're gonna have stovetop. Like you can have multiple stuff.
Wow,
Yeah.
stovetop.
So you can eat stovetop.
Instead of potatoes?
Then you can come and
Maybe
eat some.
potatoes too.
Oh,
I'm so dated, like they don't
But
even
see,
give me
I don't
stovetop.
normally eat stuffing,
Oh, you don't?
no. But I enjoy the stuffing at the turkey dinner.
There you go. Well, we got Lisa's super secret recipe, so it's, you know, we've got it locked in the vault in the basement of St. Joe's, and we're gonna bring it out for a few minutes, and you get to see it, and then you have to make it, and that's it. So, it'll be great. And then
Should be back
Saturday,
there next time.
and then Saturday is the midwinter fundraiser for the library, biggest fundraiser of the year.
And that's 7 to 9.
7 to 9, that's sort of 7 to 10, I think. But there's some drinks and entertainment. They've got really great games. Highly recommend that. That'll be a lot of fun. I have tickets for that too.
I think we're ready to go.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? Any other fundraisers, Jeff?
It's just nonstop. I gotta stop with this fundraising bit. 'Cause everybody, when everybody sees me, well, I shouldn't say. I was gonna make a joke, but it'd be far too self-deprecating. I was gonna say they turn the other way, then that opens it up to the, oh, well, that's not because of that joke.
It's been a great general discussion, and I don't think there's any reason for executive session. Anything further? Very good.
yes.
Then we are adjourned.